So, Captain Granite, welcome, sir. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me today. So, what's going on, sir? How you been?
Doing well. Doing well. Winter is in full effect here, and it's making riding a little impossible, but I'm making
For those
do.
of you that for those of you that don't know where is it?
New Hampshire.
Nice. That's
Yeah,
got to be some great riding.
it is some beautiful, beautiful areas, especially up north.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
closer you get to like Canada, the more mountains, the more just trees. Uh, I mean, the mountains alone are just breathtaking.
that's on my list. I've not gotten that far up. I've gotten into we were in New York State a couple months ago, and
Mhm.
if that's anything as a preview, I can't imagine. It's got to
Yeah,
be fantastic.
I mean, you got New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, though you can't go wrong with either one, especially upstate New York. That's just,
Yeah.
I mean, you can get lost at any turn.
We got in the bottom of the Catskills. We got to about Lake George, and we were still
Beautiful.
pretty low in. But wow, yeah, it's the Catskills were simply stunning to ride through. I could have stayed there for weeks.
Yeah, my dad goes over Lake George every year for Americade, and
Oh, nice.
he absolutely loves it. I still have never been.
No, it's funny. People always ask me, "Have you been here? You been there?" No,
Nope.
I haven't made it down to Atlantic City to a bike rally. 20 minutes, well, not 20 minutes, but an hour away. That's funny. So, for those of you that don't know you, or for those of you that don't know Captain Granite, I should say, where can they find you? Tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would.
Well, you can find me pretty much on any social media platform.
You're everywhere.
I'm everywhere: YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitch, uh, Discord. I'm everywhere. Twitter.
That's awesome.
But yeah, been motovlogging now for a little over 5 years. Just one day, I'm sitting at my computer just watching videos on YouTube, and a motovlogger popped up, and I went, I'll watch it, just see what he's doing. And I just jumped in the rabbit hole. I just started watching video after video after video, and I was just like, I think I could do something like this. And I bought myself a camera, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna try it out. And here I am 5 years later.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
Now, how long were you riding before that?
So I did the MSF course,
Okay.
and
Good, smart move. I'd recommend that to anybody.
everyone,
Yep.
if you even question that you want to ride MSF course, it's literally some states is a 2-day course, some states is a 3-day course. Try it out. You'll know in the first hour whether or not it's for you.
Now, does New Hampshire charge you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because when I lived in Pennsylvania, it was free. And I always just tell people, if you had a bored weekend, just go take the class. Like, what's the worst you could do? Wreck somebody else's bike? Like, who cares?
Yeah, I took mine at a Harley dealership at the time. They literally was a Buell Blast. They threw me on. And I mean, I watched one, I think she was like 60 years old, 70 years old, just wanted to check it off her list, as she said. And she missed the break and launched right into a wire fence. She ended up passing the course somehow. But
Okay.
I was like, oh, good for you. I'm like terrifying at the same time knowing that you're out there. But
well, I guess though, if you're going to make a mistake, make it where you're relatively not going to harm it. We have people rear-ending each other's, and
yeah,
or somebody comes around a corner, hits the front brake, and dumps, and
been there, been there.
We've all been there,
especially with actually my bike now, my Victory. First half hour I had it, I ended up stalling it at a red light while I was making a turn. I was like mid-turn, and I grabbed the front brake, and it just went boom. 24 miles in on the brand new bike, and I dumped it.
Well, you got the first one out of the way, though.
Got right out of the way. But yeah, for MSF course, and I ended up losing my job right after that. And I ended up not getting a motorcycle until a year after that course. So for there, that was my Harley Sportster I had, and then I got the Victory 8-ball, and that's pretty much when I started motovlogging. So it was a
Eight ball
couple
was
years.
the lowest of the line, right? And I say that because it wasn't a small displacement bike, but that was their basic crew, like
That was like
bike,
their
right?
basic cruiser, and I mean, it still had the 106 in it. It was
Yeah, because that was the first cruiser I ever rode. I had a KOR at the time,
yeah.
and I thought I was going to die riding a big displacement bike, and that was after that test ride, I was like, sign me up.
Yeah, that bike, I going from an 883 to that was, I thought it was going to be a much more gradual like increase of power. No, I mean that thing took off. Like it was crazy. It still handled like the Sportster, in my opinion, but the power was just on another level, like
Yeah.
bar none. But
Yeah, we had a Victory dealer that was local to me at the time when I lived in PA, and yeah, I took one of those out during the demo days. They're fantastic bikes. I'm really disappointed that they went away. I had my heart set on a Victory Vision. That was like my dream bike. That or cross country.
yep.
And well, now I'm stuck riding a Harley.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, no, there's nothing wrong with that. I really liked that Victory was sort of like the counterculture. It was like it was the other version, if you will. It was still an American made bike.
I do like how Polaris or Indian. I'm a little disheartened by Polaris, so I just call them Polaris. I refuse to really call them Indian motorcycles.
Because no one ever dreamed of riding a Polaris as a kid.
Man, no. So I love the Challenger. Like I love the looks of it. I think that was a very wise move on their part to produce that. My only thing is it's Polaris. I can't force myself to even go that route because
Now, have you ridden one?
I haven't yet. The closest dealer is a little bit south of me, and I had a bad experience with them when I was first looking to get a motorcycle, so I haven't been down there since. And I'm still kind of kicking myself, like, do I want to go down there and test ride? But I won't know unless I try.
I've been in 2 Indian dealers, and for whatever reason, nobody will talk to me when I go in there. I think it's the funniest thing. You walk around and no one will come up to me. I'm like, do I have a look? Did I do something wrong?
When the time came to get rid of my 8-ball, and it was the funniest thing because my wife goes, she goes, I don't like the back seat of the 8-ball. The little backrest, they had that little hockey puck backrest.
Yep.
And she goes, this isn't comfortable. I'm like, okay. I was like, well, what do you suppose we do? And she goes, well, can you get a bigger back seat? I'm like, well, yeah, on the cross country. And she goes, okay, let's go take a look. I'm like, I'm just throwing this back at you real quick. I'm not questioning it because I'm on board, but that's getting a new bike. She goes, yeah, let's go take a look. I'm like, I couldn't grab the keys fast enough. We went down to
the reason
dealership.
I wound up with my bike.
That's how I wound up with it.
You know what? And that's the easiest sell, right?
If the wife is on board, it is golden.
Yep.
And they gave me a killer deal, and I should have questioned it then because they basically gave me my whole money back on my 8-ball.
Wow.
For the cross country. And I'm like, and my payments dropped like $2. It wasn't much, but I'm like,
yeah, but still,
if it's too good to be true, what's going on here? And then sure enough, I think it was like 6 months later,
they dropped. Yeah.
They dropped. I went, that's why. I'm like, that's exactly why. So Polaris kind of put a little rotten beer in my mouth, I guess, on that one.
Yeah, you need to show everybody your beer, by the way. We make sure you get that some screen time. You have your own branded beer now.
No,
that's awesome.
I wish. They spelled Captain wrong.
They did. That's what that's a question. So how did you come up with Captain Granite? Something tells me there's a good story behind this.
That was also an experience with my wife, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I told her about motovlogging and how I want to create my own channel. And I said, but I'm stuck on making a name. I have no idea what to make. And she was throwing out like, oh, you could do like 603 Rider because that's the area code for New Hampshire. I was like, no. I was like, I've seen so many other people have it. like their area code and then ride or moto or I'm like, I want to be different. And she goes, well, what was your favorite? Because I'm a nerd. I mean, as you can see from my background here, I'm a full blown nerd. And she goes, well, what was like your favorite cartoon growing up or whatever? And I said, well, I was like, I liked, like Digimon, Pokemon. I said, but I like the old school, like TMNT, Captain Planet. And she goes, won't you be like Captain Granite for the Granite State? I went, I love it.
See,
And it just
that's
stuck.
awesome.
And I said, but I'm not going to spell it with a C. I'm going to spell it with a K. I want just a little difference. So that's where it stuck. I was like, I fell in love with it first second. I was like, it's like Captain Granite. I'm like, done. That's
Sometimes
how it's going to be.
The best ideas are the simplest. That's great.
I mean, we're just driving to the grocery store one day and it was just right there. It was awesome.
That's awesome. That's really Now, does she ride with you often?
She's my backpack. Yeah.
Everybody needs a backpack. They hold your gloves. They hold the gas cap. They pay. They're great.
That works. And then like I've tried to convince her to take the MSF course just to see, but at the same time, I know how she is. And I'm like, I really don't want her out there by herself.
Yeah.
I'm like, in my experience, I know what to expect. Because I've been riding for a lot longer than she ever would. And I don't want her out there by herself. It's a little bit of a nerve-wracking kind of deal.
Yeah. My wife Katie has a Pelagio scooter that someone gave us, and she's never been licensed. The bike was licensed for her registered for a bit, but she's taken out in the parking lot a few times, and every time she does, I'm like, don't kill yourself.
Break. Nope, that's not the break.
She decided to do that thing from far away where she's going between like a light pole and the curb, and in my head it's this this wide. It's not. It's probably 20 feet, but in my head I'm like, I can't do this. I'm just not made for this.
No, I used to scare my parents to death because like I grew up on a farm in Vermont. And our neighbor had this little motorized, like little bicycles, a little moped. And it was so old school, like you'd pedal it and then you'd have to reach behind you and pull this lever to kick the engine on. And then you had to hit the gas.
Oh, that's cool.
It was the coolest thing. It had a top speed of like 25 miles per hour. It wasn't anything fancy. But that was really my first time riding like a motorized anything. And I used to scare my parents to death with it because I'd be just putting around. I'd find the biggest hill in our town, just drop it. I'd hit like 40. You just hear the little engine and I'm like, and sure enough, I blew the head on it like a couple of years into it. But I love that thing. It's like such a great memory.
And it's funny too. I think a lot of people from the outside think you need this giant displacement bike to have fun. I got to get that scooter running again. That scooter's more fun to ride than the Harley because it's just so much fun. You can just throw it around.
I keep telling her, I was like, I'd really love a Grom. And she goes, she's like, you're too big for a Grom. I'm like, okay. When she said that, I was at my highest weight. I was like 265. I've now dropped down to 225, but I'm like, I could rock a Grom now. I'm not fluffy enough now. I can do it.
I think that their appeal. Yeah, I mean, I'd look ridiculous. I'd look like a circus clown on one, but I would rock one. I think it would be the best.
At that point, you just go ignore what people say and just be like, yeah, I'm having fun.
Yeah, I mean, I started with a scooter, and it's funny. People were like, "Oh, you started with a scooter. It's not a real bike." I'm like, I don't know, man. Put thousands and thousands of miles on that bike.
I know a couple mo vloggers that are on scooters.
Yeah.
And they they're bombing it down the highway in California and they're having fun. And
it's funny that people trash the live wire for having, the Hondas for having the automatic transmission. I'm like, but the scooter was so much fun. I mean, there's obviously some limitations. I wouldn't say there were a lot, but it certainly didn't have the suspension travel and things like that, but they're so much fun. And it's a shame they have such a negative rep.
I really want to try a live wire. I got asked a question. I did a Q&A video earlier this year, and someone asked, would I buy an electric motorcycle? And I said, yeah, I'd get a live wire today. Just looking at how it rides, I mean, I get everyone has a gripe about, charging it, and you can only go this far. I mean, yeah, okay. I mean, every bike has its limitations.
Yeah.
It's just how you adapt to it.
Well, and the thing is too, it's not a bike. I've ridden one twice, and it's not a bike that I'd want to spend all day on, or at least not for me.
Yeah.
And it's not designed for that. After 120 miles, call it, you're done. I would be totally okay taking an hour break. Totally okay with that.
See, I've become too accustomed to my sofa. My bike is literally a sofa on two wheels. I'm so comfortable on it. I could literally go, 500-600 miles and not even think like, I guess I should get off the bike and stretch my legs a little bit. I'm always comfortable on it. It's crazy.
No, what kind of mileage have you put down in a day on it?
The furthest or the most miles I put on in a day was probably about 300.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good run.
Yeah. We went from our house here, we went to Old Orchard Beach, Maine. We came back up over a different route through Maine and up north in New Hampshire and came right back down the highway. Because by the time we got back, we could have taken two routes, the long way or the highway. And at that point, she was hurting. And I was like, well, it's 30 minutes down the highway or an hour and some change the long way. And I went, okay, we're just going to go right down the highway. So it could have been more, but so much fun.
That's the really nice part about having a full fairing bike. You can just hammer the highway. The highway's nothing.
Yeah. There is some wind buffing on this bike because the fairing is very oddly shaped.
It is.
A lot of it comes underneath it and hits me like in the shoulders. And but it's nothing compared to how the 8-ball was, where I was getting all the wind. Because I tell her all the time, I'm like, I'm tired after a ride, and she goes, "How are you tired?" I'm like, the wind. I mean, it's like you're in a fight all day, and
Absolutely.
it knocks it out of you.
Now you have the lower screen on yours. Is that stock? Because I don't remember that much about Victory as far as the way they came.
I don't. I just have the standard fairing. I changed the windshield.
Okay, that's what I meant. I'm sorry. Is that the standard windshield?
No. The standard windshield comes with a 9-inch windshield. This one's an 11.
That makes a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to get, and it's kind of my own selfish reason, but I wanted a little bit less wind noise in the helmet. But then after I got down the road, I'm like, oh, that's not the windshield wind hitting it, messing up my mic. It's the underneath that's hitting me. But the higher windshield helps out a lot.
Yeah, because I had a really hard time with my head buffeting, where it was just, I felt like I was bobbling all the time, and you don't realize, how bad that really hurts until the end of the day.
Oh, your neck hurts, and your head is killing you.
Yeah. That's the one thing that I think that people that they easily discount is that what customization can do. Just those few little options,
little parts,
make a huge difference.
Yeah, just a couple parts here and there. Unfortunately, with Victory, parts are so expensive now. And hard to find. I mean, there's a part for the exhaust back when they were in production. Because when I first got the bike, I was like, I want to go stage 1. You could find the stage 1 pipes with the air filter, everything, for I think it was like $500, $600. Now it's over $1,000.
Oh wow!
Just all the parts have gone up between 30 and 300%. It's ridiculous.
That's the thing that really bummed me out. I had this idea that I was going to buy a Victory. Victory closed. And then my dealer closed. I was like, well, maybe it wasn't meant to be, because I don't know what I would have done, because obviously you could take it other places, but I was so ingrained in that dealership at the time that it was like losing family when they closed. You were used to just talking to the guy behind the counter and you knew they'd take care of it.
Yep.
That was the nice part.
The closest, the Victory dealer I got mine from, is in Hooksett, New Hampshire.
Okay.
And that's about 45 minutes, give or take, from where I'm at now. Or there's another one that's over towards, it's actually right on the main border. That one's about an hour and 15 away. So I'm like smack dab in the middle of like, okay, both are kind of not the easiest to get to. There's no direct route, but I actually choose the one that's a bit further. The one I didn't buy it from, and they've actually been very helpful.
That's awesome.
This year, I mean, they had my Victory for almost a month this year, or last year, because the whole what was it? The ignition box gone.
Oh,
so or not the ignition box, the oh man, I can't even think of the name. The throttle box.
okay.
That's what I'm thinking of. Throttle box. That went. And they said that was the first throttle box they've ever seen on a cross country go. So
of course it has to be yours.
I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Because I have videos on my channel that there's couple of rides where I'm just like, I let go of the throttle and it's still going.
Yep.
I'm like, my throttle's stuck right now. And I'm sitting there just calm as can be recording it. I'm like, yeah, this is awful right now. And it got to the point where I couldn't even roll out of the throttle. Like, it was just pinned. And it's the most nerve-wracking thing. And the last time it happened was when my wife was on the back. And I went, okay, I'm okay myself being on the bike because I know I can handle it. But with her on the back, I'm putting someone else in danger. That's when it's scary.
Now, did you have heated grips?
No.
No, okay. I was curious because my Ultra, the grips melted, and that did the same thing.
Oh.
I was in a turn one day, and I'm like, the bike's not slowing. This is bad. I'm no mechanic, but this can't be good.
And it's always the worst time because you're thinking of something else like far away from it, and you look and go, something's not what's supposed to be.
I actually I felt like I was going to wheelie the bike for the first couple times I took it out when they replaced it because I didn't realize how much drag there was on it with it being, melted over time.
Yep.
And, the first time I pulled out, I was like, whoa, the bike's doing this, because that's what it feels like.
Yep.
That's funny.
I got my front wheel off the ground for the first time last year. And I wasn't prepared for it. And I really should have been wearing brown pants that day.
Yeah.
I think.
I did that with my Versus when I first got it. I pulled out at a light, wanting to let it open it up a little bit. And I was like, why is the front end so light? And then the next light, I was like, oh, the front end was off the ground. Won't do that again.
I mean,
I am not built for that.
I knew my cross country could do it, but I don't have the means or the want to do that.
Yes, 100% yes.
So when that happened, I'm like, oh, sweet Jesus, this sucks.
That's funny.
Because I mean, really funny. I don't stunt. I've never stunted and never done wheelies. Even when I have like a pedal bike, I don't do wheelies. They're meant to be off the ground. I'm not prepared for something like that.
Yeah, I don't know how people do that. I'm not a floorboard dragger. I'm not a wheelie guy.
I leave the floorboard dragging to holler.
Yeah,
because he just, he has those titanium strips now underneath his floorboard. So when he hits, and he just sparks. I'm like, dude, I scraped my floorboard once, and I thought I was gonna have a heart attack. I'm like, I don't get that low, but oddly enough, you look at my tires and the chicken strips, they call them. Mm-hmm. I have like none. I'm like, how does that work?
That's funny.
Like, I don't think I get that low. And I have other people riding with me and they go, wow, you took that corner really low. I'm like, okay.
The lean angle is pretty built for it then. That's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That thing is so hard to knock over. It's crazy. I mean, it's almost 1,000 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's 900 and some change.
It's a big boy.
It's the heaviest bike I've ever been on. And it's just, I'd hate to drop it again to pick it up
No,
because
is that the victory that they built that you can't fully tip it over?
yeah. So it has
Yeah.
like the crash bars on it.
Yeah.
So luckily, when I dropped it, it was still at kind of like a nice little angle. But
Hmm.
my issue that I had was when I dropped it, I tried catching it.
Oh, no.
So
That never ends well.
so I was close to this little concrete barrier, little tiny little one, like you could step up on it. And I put my foot down to stop it. My foot slipped off from it. I had one hand on the bar, and I took all 900
Oh,
pounds into one arm. I heard every single piece just crack, snap, pop, and
oh,
I ended up bursting the there's a little sack in your shoulder called the bursa sac, and basically that lubricates your shoulder for movement.
okay.
And uh, I there's days where my shoulder just doesn't want to work. Like
Oh,
there's no fix. Well, there's a fix.
hmm.
They can go and do surgery on it, but apparently you lose like 12 to 15% of your motion.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
good. I'm good with that. I can stretch every day and just loosen it up. I don't need surgery.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So what do you like to do off the bike?
I used to love to golf.
Okay.
That was like one of my biggest passions, especially in high school. I when I was on the golf team, there's a guy on the PGA Tour. His name is Keegan Bradley. I was on the
Okay.
same golf team with him.
Oh, sweet.
I mean, he's in the PGA Tour. He's amazing. Our whole team was just full of absolute rock star golfers. I made it to the Vermont Junior State Championship. It was just one of my passions, and I wanted to pursue it further, but other things came in my life
Sure.
that stopped me. I love gaming,
It's
especially during
awesome.
the winter time. I mean, for my channel specifically, I'm mostly just moto vlogs.
Okay.
That's my bread and butter. And during the winter, I can't really take the bike out because there's so much salt, sand,
Hmm.
and it's like -10 out. Uh, so I try to just keep myself busy. Gaming kind of helps me with that because I'll do like Twitch gaming. So I'm streaming on there. And then um, other than that, COVID kind of restricted me now because now I'm working from home. So
Yeah.
I don't really have any means to go anywhere. So it's been a little rough on that aspect.
It's interesting how that's changed the world.
Yeah.
My morning commute's all of like 5 feet from the bedroom to to my office, and I'm like, wow, it's just excuse me.
Bless you.
It's really what at that part out. It's really yeah, it's really weird. It's like your circle is so limited.
Yeah.
It's I mean, I worked from home as it was, but for whatever reason, it just seems like that's really changed I guess you don't realize how much you want to go out until you can't.
Absolutely. And I mean, we used to always work from home when I first started with this company, and then we got an office. So that was really like nice for me because then that's when I could record. Like, here I am, I'm going to the office. And now with COVID, we're now working from home again, and they're actually talking about shutting down our office. So I'm like, damn it. I'm like, how am I going to do this? So it's another thing I'm going to have to adapt to. But just for my work specifically, I usually travel for work.
Okay.
I'd go to like Indonesia. I'd go to China.
Oh wow. So what do you do if you don't mind me asking?
I'm a compliance officer for a paper packaging company.
Nice.
It sounds boring, and it is. Basically, I have to make sure all our two factories that we have are just following the rules of their state law or their
Hmm.
country's laws, and being sustainable and all that. So I have to go there when customers go there for audits and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, and I haven't been there I didn't go all last year. And usually I go to Indonesia at least twice a year and China once.
Oh, that's awesome.
So right now it's kind of like, when am I going back? You know, when will I be allowed to go back at this
Sure.
point? Because they're not letting like any Americans like leave the country at this point, which is just, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. When we were in Buffalo, we were at Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
Actually, I missed Josh by like an hour.
I
All
sent you
these,
that I sent you that
yeah,
message on Instagram, like, because I saw you post the picture. I'm like, I could be matchmaker. I can let them meet. I'm like,
I
shade
thought it
trees
was
there, shade
so
trees there.
funny. I'm like, oh, okay. Then I saw that video and I'm like, wow, it's like I could have been in the same spot. That's really funny.
Yeah.
That was he did a hell of a ride for that, man. That he
In
threw down
24
some
hours,
miles.
Florida to New York in 24 hours.
That's crazy.
I
What an old Goldwing, man. That's mad props. Mad
Yep.
props.
And I mean, he said he wanted to go across the country. I mean, he went the north route. Now it's going to
Yeah.
go the west route. That's his next goal.
That's awesome. I think that goes to show you too the build quality of those bikes. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's amazing how many of those older bikes, the Goldwings especially, you see around.
Yep.
And the old ones are tanks, man. They're huge,
Yep.
but
Absolutely.
they work.
But I mean, for like all the new bikes, you need this special wrench or this special tool to even get into, uh, to fix like the chain or the cable, this cable, that cable. You get a bike from the 80s, it's like, you got a zip tie,
Yep.
you're good. You got duct tape, fine. It's just like, okay. It's
We were out on
amazing.
our trip. I went to get gas. I pull out of the gas station, and Katie's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "The GPS is dead. The whole boom system just black screen." I'm
Oh
like, "Well,
no.
this can't be good." Then I won't lie. I'm probably the only person that will tell you that I threw a fit when it came back working because I have the extended warranty, and I was like, "I'll get the new Apple CarPlay." Yes.
Yeah.
Then it came back. I was like, "Damn it."
When
Now I just use I use my phone. I was totally against it. And then once I started using it with my quad lock, I was like, okay, now I get it. Now I
yeah,
understand why people do this.
like with my bikes, I don't have like the computer dash. Uh, I have to use my phone for GPS, and my bike does not come standard with Bluetooth. The
Okay.
last year that they made them, it was standard. I'm like,
Oh,
you gotta be kidding me. So we asked for the cross country to have Bluetooth standard for all these years, and the last year they're in production, like, they're just hanging out. Let's just add it. So like, I
yeah.
got this piece here. It just plugs into my little auxiliary, and it makes Bluetooth go right to my speaker.
That's awesome.
I'm like, done. I'm like,
Well,
I'm good with that.
that was the thing that I never realized with having the quad lock was that if the quad lock's connected, I'm sorry, the quad lock's on the handlebars, the bike's connected to Bluetooth, the talk to speech or whatever they call that button then activates Siri. So it's great. I was like,
Yeah.
I took it out when I was out with misplaced motovlogger playing with it. I was like, this is pretty cool. Like I didn't realize like how ingenious this really is.
Right.
Plus two, the stock GPS is so damn low. You can't see it with a full face helmet on.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, at least for me, because I have a hammock seat. I'm like 6'1", 6'2" in boots. So
Okay.
I sit up pretty high. So the problem I had, like when we were in Pittsburgh, we got lost. I kept having to do this, which, isn't helpful to anybody,
Right.
especially your passenger.
Yep. Oh no,
Yeah,
I
you don't think about those things.
when I have my wife on the back, and I can feel her like, oh, looking at something, and then she'll look the other way. I'm just like, and it's always mid-turn that she moves and goes the opposite way. I'm like, okay, you know what? On the next straightaway, I'm gunning it and I'm dipping my head down. She's getting a full thing of wind. so I have my ways.
It's amazing. I don't think people realize how effort it is to ride two up. I mean, we ride probably 90% of the time she's with me.
Yep.
But people don't realize, like I always joke with her, I was like, I never knew the bike was this fast and nimble when you're not on it, because you're never not on it.
It's funny you say that, because I've been riding a lot with Lakes Region Rider. He's a new moto vlogger that's starting out, and he lives right down the road from me. And him and I've been riding together a lot towards the end of this last year. And him and I mean, he has a victory as well. He has a victory judge. And I said, you know what?
That was a sweet bike.
Oh my God, that is a beaut. And they only did it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I'm like, all right, I'm racing this straight line right here. Like, and I have my wife on the back, and he just gone. Like, I was just like, wow, it's the same engine. I'm like, he's just taking off on me. And then the last ride I took it out with, he went with me, and I said, again, I'm like, it's just me on the bike this time. I'm like, again, I'm like, I got this time. And we raced 3 times, and I beat him 2 out of the 3. And he goes, what the hell? He's like, why? I'm like, well, you gotta figure my wife's on the back. That's added weight, but it takes a little bit longer for me to accelerate with the added weight. And I'm like, your bike is as nimble as can be.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy, the difference. But when you're riding 2 up, you have to keep that in mind, where the acceleration is going to take a little bit longer. The braking is immensely different. You could stop 10 feet shorter if you don't have anyone on there with you.
Yeah.
You have someone on there, it's different completely.
Yeah, it really is you forget how different it is, especially when you get used to it, because people are like, oh, it's so scary taking somebody out. I'm like, I don't remember it being that scary. But then when you really think back about it, I can remember it taking like a whole parking lot for me to make a U-turn. Like, I'm talking like, like 5-10 spaces, and I was just like, can't make it turn, because you're so nervous.
And in the MSF course, didn't they have you do a figure 8 in a parking spot?
Yeah, I failed the figure 8. I mean, I didn't fail that bad, but I got the maybe the figure of the 8. I didn't get both.
I failed it every single time, like on the practice. Like, I kept putting my foot down. I'm like, I can't do it. And then the test, I said, you know what? My foot is glued. If I dump it, I dump it. And I just barely nicked the line on the figure 8 on the test. And I was like, awesome. And then
that's awesome.
I got the most points off at the very end to stop. I looked down because the guy said, stop at my foot. So I'm pulling up, and he's staying right in front of you. And I pull up, and I look like that so I don't hit him. And I stopped. He goes, why'd you look down? He goes, minus 10 points. I was like, what? I was like, I didn't want to hit you. I was like, I was doing you a favor, and now he ended up taking like 5 points off at the end for it.
That's funny.
I was like, I had the best score in the class up until he gave me those points off.
That class was definitely eye-opening, because at the time I was riding a scooter, so I was trying to figure out how to shift. And it was I was just glad I passed. That was nerve-wracking. You don't realize as an adult, like, you're like, oh, I'm taking this class. This is not a big deal. You're like, oh, now I got to pass. This is scary.
And the thing was, we're sitting here on these little Buell blasts, and there's like 10 of us in this class, and we're sitting there, and our instructor comes up. He has a fully dressed out bagger. Like, he's got the bags, he's got the trunk, he's got the huge fairing. And he's going through the cones, like, like the police videos that you see. Figure 8. I'm just sitting there going like this. I'm like, oh, this guy's like, what the hell? He's just putting us to shame. We're sitting here struggling on these little Buell blasts. But he was showing us you can get to that, with dedicating time to just always improving your skills. And, we're pretty much all of us in the class were completely green when it came to riding. There's one guy that had been riding, as he put, illegally for 2 years.
That's funny. Yeah, I remember our instructor doing the figure 8s with one hand. He was an ex-moto cop, and I was like, dude, you're killing me. My confidence is through the floor right now.
Yep. Yeah, and that just takes that little bit. I'm like, I see what you're trying to motivate us, but at the same time, it's like, well, jerk.
Yeah, it's amazing what people can do that spend the time and put the effort into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's absolutely crazy. So you're a gamer. So you're a PC gamer, I assume.
No, Xbox.
Xbox. Now
Full
the new
blown
one,
Xbox.
right? This is where I sound really old. The new one.
I don't have the new one yet. That
Okay.
one's called the Xbox Series X or S.
Okay.
They have two different versions. I'm still on the Xbox One X.
Okay.
The one previous.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what's the go-to game for that? No, I didn't realize you could. Oh no, you can Twitch with a console.
Yeah, I have. I mean, there you can't see it right here in front of me, but I have cables all over the place.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But cable management is important to me, so I have them kind of set up nicely. So I go from my Xbox to my laptop through a capture card and the works.
What are you using for a capture card? Now you've piqued my interest.
I have a Elgato HD 60.
Okay, that's what I have. The Elgato 4K.
Yeah, that's my next one. That's the one I got to upgrade to.
I was surprised how simple it was because we actually were practicing doing some live streaming for work.
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh, it's so complicated." I'm like, "I don't know. You just plug it in, it works."
Plug it in, it works. You download the firmware and whatever, you're good. Yeah. I've been having a blast with that. I've been trying to incorporate gaming into my channel, and I'm going from motovlogs to gaming. They don't mix.
Sure, but a lot of people do that though. A lot of people obviously live that life.
Yeah. So I'm leaving Twitch stuff on Twitch and my YouTube, what I have.
Okay.
With motovlogging, but I mainly play PUBG. That's my go-to game. It's just a battle royale game. 100 players, be the last one living. That's the goal.
Nice.
And I've been playing some PGA golf. And
very nice.
And another game called Dead by Daylight.
Okay.
Which is it's a survival horror kind of game. You got
very cool.
You got like 4 survivors, and then you got 1 killer after you. And you have to restart these generators to open the gates to get out. And you're in like a purgatory kind of thing. So
nice.
You have
Nate,
like Freddy after you.
Oh, sweet. My son and I used to play Left 4 Dead. That was
actually there's a character from Left 4 Dead in it.
That game was so much fun. There was there was a lot of button mashing on my part, but we used to have a blast playing that game.
I loved.
That's awesome.
I love playing Left 4 Dead, especially running into the boomers.
Mm-hmm.
Big fat zombies that come after you, and then you shoot them, they blow up on you. And
when he was younger, he was like really hardcore in the game. He still is, but we had so much fun playing that. That's awesome. That's a great memory. Yeah. What do you use for a camera?
I have a Logitech 922X.
Okay.
Webcam, I believe.
Nice.
So I kind of splurged on that. It wasn't a very cheap camera. No.
I mean, especially when I was surprised. One of my coworkers, I used to do our video conferencing work, was trying to get a webcam after COVID hit. And he's like, they're $300. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I went on Amazon and I'm like, man, we should have stockpiled these things.
Yeah. As soon as COVID hit, because I bought this camera in the early part of COVID, and it was 100 and I think it was like 150, I think, and now they're like 200 plus.
Yeah,
it's just crazy. Everyone's trying to get some sort of camera for like Zoom, Skype, all these other at home, stay at home.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that's an industry that was we couldn't sell teleconferencing to any of our people. And then the minute the pandemic hit, it was like I was the most popular person in the world, and people that had been there for the whole 3-year project were like, how's this work? I'm like, how do you not know how this works after 3 years?
More time for you for training.
Yeah, exactly. Now, what are you using for a microphone?
This is just a standard. I think it was like $20 on Amazon. Just a little boom mic, a little condenser mic. Yeah, it wasn't anything too special.
I've seen some of the gamers have quite the setup online.
Quite the setup. Yeah, I'm saving to get a Blue Yeti mic. Those are a bit expensive, but the sound quality is supposed to be amazing.
That's what this is. And Kid Moto 22 uses his for his podcast that he's on, the 530 Bikers. And I was like, okay, I'll buy it. I didn't realize how good it was until I got it. But again, it was really hard to get at the time. They were almost impossible to find. Yeah,
because I mean, I can hear it in your sound right now, and it's like crystal clear. It's like perfect.
Yeah, they're really. That's the thing that I found with audio is like, if you can do, with vlogging, if you can get the audio down, the rest of it's easy. I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's certainly easier than the audio.
Yep. And that's the one thing that we fight with motovlogging. Every motovlogger that when you start out with, audio is your nightmare.
Yeah.
That you go out there and you think you have it perfect. You record a video for a half hour, come back, and all it is garbage. It's scratchy, it's wind noise, and it's no feeling like it where you're just like, oh, I just spent all that time telling a wonderful story. This happened during that trip. Gone.
That's crazy. Actually interesting. What is there any advice that you would give to people? Like what was the things that you learned in starting that out?
Well, I have this golden rule for anyone that's looking to start motovlogging. And I always tell them, first off, if you've never taken the MSF course, take the MSF course. After that, before you get into motovlogging, take a year, learn the skills.
Mm-hmm.
I still think it's kind of weird to say, but I still think of motovlogging as a distraction.
No, I think that's very fair.
Your mind is not 100% on the road. You can say that it is, but at the same time, in the back of your head, you're thinking, where do I go from here on this story or what you're talking about? And you're not fully focused on that road. I think you need to build up the skills riding first before you start putting on the show. And that's my main golden rule is, get the skills down. Now, motovlogging, it can open up your world to so many great people. And that's the biggest thing I've gotten from motovlogging is all the people I've met through this.
Sure.
It's such a great community. I've been around it for a long time. I mean, even like Baker X Derek said to me the other night, because he was streaming on Twitch, and I said something to him, and he goes, "There's Captain Granite, OG motovlogger," and I'm like, "What?" I'm like, dude, I'm like, I don't. Every time he says something like that, I'm like, no, like I don't feel like I am. But it opens up your world to great opportunities and to meet amazing people and can take you all around this country. Like so many, like the Midwest Moto Meetup, SCMM, you got the Florida Moto Meetup, so many places you can go to. And it's just incredible.
It's really interesting to me that community, while I guess it can be, and there are people that are competitive with it, but it really does open up. There's not a day that goes by that I don't talk to somebody else in the community, and it's really interesting that there's not this. I don't think it's the same thing like with, when you buy a bike, you kind of feel like a poser in the beginning, and with the moto community, once you get into it, like people will bend over backwards for you. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing for me was the moment that I realized like I'm starting to get a presence in the community. Cowie Brock, I don't know if you ever saw his videos. He messaged me one day and he said, "Dude, you're having some issues with your mic." And I said, "Yeah, a little bit." And he goes, I just pulled he had a Sena boom mic in his helmet. And he goes, I just bought a new mic. I'm going to send you this mic. It's basically brand new. I want you to have it. I want you to help you with your
Crazy.
setup. And I'm like, dude, you don't have to do that. And, I look it up, and the mic's not cheap. Those Sena mics aren't cheap. And he's just sending me this and that adapter for free. And he's like, I really want you to continue and, help you out. And I'm like, at that point, you don't know what to say.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible that, you don't even have to ask for help. And there's people out there watching you, and they know, and that they'll reach out to you and they'll ask if you need a hand.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's amazing to me that there's so many people that are willing to help and go the extra mile, or that thing, when you're out somewhere, it's you've got friends in every state kind of thing.
Everywhere around the world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, your hat, for instance, Gorilla Biker.
The ugly monkey hat.
I blame him for everything.
I'm gonna get a lot of crap when my video comes out tomorrow from him, but that's okay. I made the mistake of forgetting he was my first international guest. Oops. Yeah. But no, you're right. And he's a classic example of someone that's always been there to ping questions off of, or to kind of keep you going when you're like, oh, this is stupid. Even my mother wouldn't watch this. It's really nice.
And those are the videos there. Like, I've gotten to the point where I put out a video and I'm like, I don't even want to put this one out. I'm like, I hate it. I'm like, I don't like it. And I say that with every video I ever do. I'm like, I don't like it. I think I could do better. And then I release it and it does better than I ever thought it would. I'm like, okay. Like, my thought process is just askewed. But I've, like, Gorilla Biker, I remember when he first started out, and he messaged me and he was asking me, editing this and, audio, and, I'll take the time out of my day to help anyone, absolutely anyone that has a question. And then I have met people through this community that will be like, well, I've been motovlogging for 3 years, and then this person comes out in 2 months, he's got more subscribers than me. Mm-hmm. Good for them. They're doing something to the point where people are invested in them.
Yeah.
And that's the point where you have to ask yourself, what can I do to make a change with my content to drive in an audience, to do videos not only for my subscribers that I already have, but videos that will bring in another audience and keep them. And I was telling that to Gorilla Biker. I said, you need to split up your videos, bring in a new audience, appeal to them, but also appeal to your current. Mm-hmm. And he's taken off. I mean, he's only been doing this for 2 years, I think. And he's 3,000 subscribers, something like that now. And here I just hit 1,000.
But I think too, and I was having this conversation with Kimoto this morning, is that I also think there's that balance of being true to yourself, right? Because
always.
I know for a fact that if I wanted to go out and, troll the Harley fanboys, I could get the views, and then I could also, get the trolling, but that's where I struggle. Like, to me, it's who I am. And if you like it, great, but I don't, yes, you can expand, but you still have to kind of find that balance of, what's true to you. And I think Gorilla's done a really good job with that.
Oh, absolutely. There's one video I watch every year at the beginning of my season. I break up my videos based off from seasons, because with winter, I feel like that's my time to reflect. So each season, right at the beginning, I watch a video from Shade Tree called How to Get 1,000 Subscribers, or it's something like that. And I watch it every year. He does, or it's three steps to get to 1,000 subscribers, something like that. And his 3 steps are incredible. And it just it gets me refocused on what I want to do and what I want to achieve. And I'll end up watching it again this year, even though I've already hit the 1,000 subscribers. But I always feel like I can I can take his video and put it towards my next content that I'm going to provide. And I suggest that video to everyone as well. And I mean, he's no stranger to making controversial content.
No, you don't say.
He's a darling angel, isn't he?
But you know, I mean, but he also, I think, speaks to the type of personality that he's not afraid to, you know, jump in front of the bullet. I know a lot of people, you know, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, the trolling game is pretty hard.
Yeah.
You know, I made the video about putting gas in your Harley, and I thought it was hysterical. And people were like, you know, why would you waste your money? I'm like, all you need to do is watch the video before that when I'm talking about how much I love my bike. Like, you took this 5 minutes out of your day and totally like off the deep end. You know, it's like, holy cow.
Yep. They just take the title and they throttle you.
Well, there were people posting videos about $1 Million Bogan, and people were commenting without even seeing the video. And then people were responding back, and they're like, "What? What do you mean?" And they're like, "You didn't watch the video at all, did you? You just decided
I
that you
followed
were
that so loosely, but at the same time, I'm like, I can see both points of view, and I just so the comments. I mean, they were very much either one side or very much the other side.
Yep.
There was no middle ground. It was crazy.
Yeah, and it goes to show you just the I guess the passion that those things can bring out to people.
Absolutely.
You know? It's crazy.
I've gotten lucky not to have too many trolls in my comments. A lot of my comments come from just other motovloggers.
Sure.
Which I'm very fortunate and to have. The only real time I ever had any bad was when I was in a motorcycle club. And I was not in a very popular motorcycle club among the club life. And I mean, death threats were a norm.
Oh, jeez.
It got to the point where I had one guy go, you know, I see your dad's. I was riding with my dad recording, and we see your dad's license plate. We can find him. We're gonna hurt him. It's just like, holy crap! Like that almost made me quit motovlogging. I instead did the opposite. I quit the club life.
Yeah.
Pushed it to the side. I said, family's more important. And I was lucky enough to still salvage my channel, and I got away from it, which I'm very fortunate about. But so I'm knocking on wood that doesn't get to that point again.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to buy a Harley to do that, though. I think.
And I think, unfortunately, with the state of the world, it's almost become like a pastime for people.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much negativity in the world, and it just
and people have more time.
People, yeah,
people have more time at home. Just YouTube is now just reality TV.
Yep. Oh, and you can see the change in that. You can see the change in people that ride that don't necessarily succeed in what I think they should. And then you see people that are making these like over the top videos where you're not even sure if they're really riding. You know, the bike could just be a prop, if you will. You know, it's
being
crazy.
towed by a truck.
Yeah. Did you ever see the video that Bearded Biker Trash, I think, did it, and it was a video on how to tow your bike to Sturgis. But the video was educational, right? He was showing you the right way to tow your bike, or at least the way I took it.
Mm-hmm.
But then he's also trolling people at the same time. And it ends with him going down the street on the bike, on the trailer, and he's taking selfies, and he's like talking about how the ride's been like a long day. And it was really funny. And people just, oh my God, people were just trolling him.
I'm going to have to watch that. That's awesome.
Oh, it's fantastic. And, you know, and he's a guy that could take it, but it's, yeah, it was pretty funny. And I think that's what, especially in the Harley world, that if you poke that bear, boy, people get really upset.
I know I saw a video, it was a few years ago, but Lemmy from Revzilla was reviewing a bike, and he was getting towed. He had it towed by a truck, but he was explaining. I'm just like, his hands haven't been on the handlebar for a while now. And then, they panned out and he was being towed. I'm like, okay, that explains it.
That's pretty funny.
I'm sitting there. He's just talking with his hands moving. I'm just like, I'd have that bike on its side at this point. Like, how's he able to keep it straight up like that? And they're turning. And I'm like, okay, he's being towed. And then sure enough, they pan out and you could see the truck holding onto the front tire.
Great. Did you ever see the one where he reviews the dog?
No.
It's very hard to find. I'll have to find it for you. So they did a video where they were raising money for some pet shelter.
Yeah.
And he reviews this dog Blue, and he's talking about reviewing the dog, and he's talking about, how he talks and everything.
Oh yeah.
And he at some point he's like, if you have any questions, don't call us because we don't know a thing about dogs. It's really funny. And it was all about promoting this organization, but he did it as though it was a real review. It was great.
I love Lemmy from Revzilla. Like he's
such a cool guy.
A riot. Such a riot to watch.
And he's so genuine. That's what I think that company did really well, is those videos were great to watch.
Mm-hmm.
They drew you in before that was a thing.
That's the one thing I love about Revzilla. Any of their product videos, so helmets, gloves. I mean, they'll do a whole lineup of all these gloves and they'll put them on. They'll tell you exactly all the differences and how they work. And I love that about them.
Yeah.
Granted, they'll ship you the wrong product when you buy it, but I mean.
Have you ever, well, you probably haven't. They have a showroom in Philly. It's like the greatest thing in the world.
I didn't know that.
It's really small. And they've had two. They had one that was in like the strip club district of Philly, which was so bizarre. It was like going into a speakeasy. They had to buzz you in. It was really bizarre. And now they're at the naval base. Yeah, but it's pretty cool. They have pretty much their high end stuff there.
So where you just knock on the glass and go, "Got any of that riding gear?"
Bob sent me. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Little sliding door open. Password.
Yeah. I own a
Harley Davidson.
And they don't let you in. They're like, yeah, get out.
Nope.
You're a poser. Oh, that's funny, man.
Last year's password.
Oh, man. So as we wrap it up, I guess, is there anything you want to talk about? Anything you want to plug? This is your time, sir. So where do people find you? What are any projects you want people keep an eye out for?
Well, next season is going to be a little bit different.
Nice.
I have a Senna now that's going to be on my helmet. So I'm going to be figuring out how to do dual mow vlogs with Lakes Region. So that's going to
nice.
Be a little different. I'm going to definitely be pushing that a little bit. But from then until now, I mean, you can find me on Twitch. I'm usually streaming at night. Usually around 9 p.m. Eastern to about 11:30, and then weekends pretty much all day. Instagram, I'm heavy on Instagram. I got myself a Discord. I got like 70 people in there, 70 wonderful people in there, and we're ever growing. We definitely have different channels for everyone. I mean, we have gamers in there. We have riders. We have just regular people that just love to hang out. And we do emphasize positive mental health and helping others that have any issues to be free and let us know what they're dealing with and how we can help.
That's awesome.
That's one thing
I applaud you for that. I think that's fantastic.
Something huge that you need to have nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
To let people know that they're not alone and they can be that there's help.
Yeah,
there's someone that will be there to listen to them. So,
and I think that's so positive.
Yeah. But yeah, Instagram, I'm very heavy in there, and then my YouTube, and there is also CaptainGranite.com. That's something new that I pulled the trigger on. I fought with myself for a while, and I'm like I don't know if I want to do that or not, but. I don't need someone stealing Captain Granite, some stone company or countertop company.
Right. Worst case, they buy it out from you. You can live the big rich dream.
The amount of times I've been called Captain Countertop is ridiculous.
I'm never going to be able to get that out of my head now. Oh, that's funny.
Cheers. You're welcome.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day.
Dude, thank you for having me.
Really
this has been fun.
Thanks for doing all the positive things you're doing with the community. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Anytime anyone needs a question, or I'm out there. I'm
awesome.
there.
That's such a positive thing to have. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome.